I've been playing a lot of D&D lately, like actually too much, it's taking up my whole schedule, but playing, planning, and running combat constantly has given me a lot of experience in how to make that whole thing a little more spicy.
Let me add a little bit of spice.
So instead of MOBA-style butting heads until you have enough kills to level up your ability to get more kills, let's build out some environment ideas. The first thing that I learned, actually from Jocat when he said it exactly, it's more fun to treat combat like an ecosystem instead of a two-sided battle. If there are wild monsters roaming around or an active skirmish that the party is walking into, the player characters get to choose their individual involvements in that fight. And in that vein, some NPCs will probably start attacking each other or randomly decide to leave if fighting doesn't work for them anymore. It's a simple lesson, but it does grow out the depth of the world. The next little chunk of an idea I actually think I learned from Superhot, where there's a battle in the subway station where barriers blast through the battle as you're fighting, forcing everyone to take a second to reposition before they can keep shooting again, or take advantage of the barrier to hide the next thing that they're going to do. Transposing that whole idea of large moving obstacles that alter the shape of the battlefield is always fun to me. In one of my last fights, I had a burning ship full of floating crystals where every turn parts of it would fly up 5 feet while other parts sank into the water, shrinking but shifting the battlefield while both parts became more and more dangerous to stay on. In the same note, you can also have an environment that rapidly reacts to or changes in response to player actions. I know that sounds like traps, but the trigger is more important than the function of the trap. If a character so much as casts a spell, says a curse word, moves a certain speed, faces a certain direction, flies, or even stands up from the prone condition, they could trigger an environmental effect. At my absolute meanest, I remember designing a fight where a bunch of spellcasting monk statues formed a ring around the battle, and every time anyone in the arena cast a spell, one of them would raise their hands to counterspell it, and there were like 30 of those guys. But in a much more interesting arena, I had a crystal cave that would shoot force lasers every time someone cast a spell, but they would only ever shoot in the same direction. But instead of fighting, the player talked it out with the enemy, which makes me wish that I had changed the condition to every time someone asks a question, the lasers shoot. Another great way to heavily alter fights is to change how the arena itself works. I suggest you try throwing a fight at your party where a monster maybe changes the grid from squares into hexagons. Another fight I got to run was essentially just Donkey Kong, where the party had to fight burrowing worms up the face of a lateral wall, and they would launch debris down the map while trying to knock characters all the way off the cliff. My other favorite minor change in combat is dividing what the party has to attack and what attacks the party. The fight with Raphael in Baldur's Gate is a really good example, if not a bit crowded, but the core targets of the fight in a swarm of demons are the static soul pillars. One of my favorite fights that I ever ran was with a big Buddha guy who was chained to the ground, and when the party broke the chains, he just floated into the sky while cursing at them, like the balloon scene in Harry Potter. I just love jumbling together random objectives, regional effects, and environments to get slightly new experiences in a almost stale combat game. And that's it. Just a tiny video where I tell you that I really like weird D&D fights. And also, I'm here to collect more. I really just want to read a bunch of comments about like what were the coolest fights that you went through and like what went on in them and how they worked. Okay, thank you for watching. Good luck. Have fun. Goodbye.